Been around Hollywood now for about 35 years, in and out, off and on. I come, I go, and so on. Along the way, I developed some writing rules, and I codified them. And every so often, I'll take a look at them myself. Now, I wrote, so far, 9 screenplays. I wrote a lot of other stuff. A novel. I have more than 40 projects I worked on that are in various stages. What else did I write? A couple of stage plays. Did pretty well with them, as a matter of fact, down in Orlando over the years. But anyway, here are the writing rules. I wrote... every writer writes differently. Some struggle. My good friend, now gone, one of my good friends, would struggle. I found it very, very difficult to write. A lot of writers in Hollywood do. I didn't. I've written since I was 4 or 5. We had a typewriter, started writing. I loved to do this and that. So anyway, I've always written, and not always well, but have written. Most important thing, by the way, is you got to like your own stuff, be into it. And I don't really ever begin writing something, a scene or a chapter or anything, until I've kind of been thinking about it. And then, I go, I'm really ready to, let me get this down on paper. Years ago, a writer wrote that it was kind of like having a baby. What would guys know about that, of course? But that you get to a point, the idea grows and grows and grows until, you reduce it to paper and so on. Anyway, here are the writing rules. I alluded to some of this earlier, but number 1 was finish it. And the reality here is until you finish it, you really don't know what it's about. You may think it's about one thing, but then when you finish it and take a look at it, then you understand what it was that your subconscious was working on and doing. And so then when you address the revisions or rewrites or whatever, you get a clear idea of what you're doing. And there is a what I call the William Faulkner rule, and this was related to me by a well-known actor who officed with Faulkner on the Paramount lot, I guess back in the 40s and 50s, whenever that was. And Faulkner would come in the morning, he'd sit down, and he'd just start writing like crazy, maybe 10, 15 minutes, and he'd rip stuff out and throw it in the waste can, and then he'd go, and then he'd start writing the screenplay or whatever project he was working on. That really doesn't work. I've tried it a time or two. It really doesn't work. All I wind up with is a lot of garbage that doesn't really make sense. The next one I really love, and this one came from my mentor, Linda Palmer, who was the head of production for TriStar at one point. She herself wrote 11 books. And we wrote 4 presentations for sitcom presentations for CBS. I met her when I enrolled one of her classes at UCLA Extension. And Linda said, when you get a new problem and you don't know where your character is and you don't know what's going on, just ask your characters. And your characters will tell you, this is a crazy idea. But you know what? That one really does work. And you say, what are you doing? What's your motivation, if you ask a character? Somebody knows. It may not be you. I did a lot of critiquing. You will do a lot of critiquing and helping other writers if you have any sense of neighborliness in Hollywood. But there's a way to critique and a way to not critique. Don't criticize them. Just ask for clarification. If there are a couple of things I ask people who read my stuff to do. One is, tell me where you stopped. Because that is a point at which you lost interest or the phone rang and you didn't get back to whatever. I want to know where you stopped. And that tells me that usually that the narrative was slowing up at that point or that I'd lost you or whatever. So ask for clarification, such as where you stopped, and also encourage. By the way, a lot of people in Hollywood, non-writers and a lot of other people, don't know that you can write on blank paper. They write on yours. They make a suggestion. Put a word in here. Do this. Lose that period. Don't do that to other people. Simply be encouraging, never critical. These people have spent a lot of time writing this, and they respect you enough to ask you to take a look at it, see what you think. And, we wrote, I critiqued quite a fair number of other works, and I'm appreciative when somebody takes a look at mine as well. The reality in Hollywood is that if you, when you don't get invited in to do a meeting. I've done 80, 90 different meetings in different production companies, and they don't invite you in to say, "Ooh, read your stuff." God, you really embarrassed yourself. They call you in because they really like something, and very occasionally they like just the whole thing. And that thing that they liked and they brought you in may or may not be where you want to go with the script, and you may not want to work with them on that and move that along. But occasionally, and I make it about 8% of the time, it's absolutely magic. They get the script that you wrote, they understand where you're going with it, and most importantly, they like it, and they want to do something with it, and they like you. They don't invite you in because you may not realize this as a writer, but I gradually did. They know you. They've never met you before, but they have read your stuff, and they know you and they relate to you, and they're already your friends and already your supporters and already have a great deal of regard for you. But interestingly, you write the next one, you go, wow, I got to get it over to these guys who liked me the last time. Next time, they won't get it. They won't understand it, and they won't relate to it. And so this is sort of one of the banes in Hollywood. You're always bringing new people into what you do. New people are finding it, and the old people sort of drift off, and you wind up not working with them, and you sort of thought you would. Write for yourself. If you like it and you enjoy it and you have a passion for it, that is where your true joy will be. I reread my stuff sometimes that I wrote 20, 30 years ago, and you know what? I liked it then. No, I like it now. Okay, and at least there's one reader out there who likes my stuff, because I don't write it, and if I in the middle of writing it and I lose interest in it and I don't really think it's that good, it doesn't go any further. But the things that I complete, I've always liked. It's important to protect your copyrights. When you write it, it's copyrighted. Register it. Hollywood is a band of folks who will steal words, scenes, ideas, everything. By the way, there's no new idea. There's no new concept here that you're coming up with. But how you treated your characters and how you executed and so forth, protect your copyrights, because it's not it's not a protective environment. And this leads to the next question. Use entertainment lawyers. Entertainment law is very different than real estate law or any other law. And they've got their own things that get put into contracts that writers may not appreciate, but your lawyer will if he's an entertainment lawyer, and he will take care of you. Couple of things on critiquing. Read their whole piece, and only then think about what it is that they've asked you to read when you're reading for someone else to critique, and take some time to think about it and to understand what it is. Also, this leads us into log lines. A log line is 30 words or less, and it is the beginning, middle, end of your in this case, your script. But your novel, yes, could be that way. And the kind of classic on this one is Tootsie. A man dresses up like a woman and becomes a better man. There's 3 acts right there. Man dresses up as a woman. The decision to dress up as a woman, Act 1. He's dressed up as a woman, Act 2. And Act 3 is he becomes a better man. Very simple. Boy meets girl, boy loses girl, boy. But if you can't reduce it to 30 words, then you don't understand yet. You will, you may understand what you're trying to accomplish. But until you do, and you got it 30 words or less, then you're not getting clarity. You may be spinning your wheels here. And so I encourage you to make a good log line and so forth. I've already mentioned, make a note when you stop reading. That's extremely valuable to both yourself and to others. Be constructive when things don't work, or you feel they don't work, or you didn't get it. Say so. Sometimes writers will get their feelings hurt and say, well, how could you not understand it? At that point, instead of engaging, getting in an argument with some writers, which can happen, simply say, well, look, you asked me to tell you what I think, and I'm wrong a lot, but that's where I was and what I think, and so take it for a value or not. The next one's really important. Don't hand yourself to amateurs. Don't hand yourself to people who don't know what they're doing in writing books or in Hollywood and Hollywood screenplays and sitcoms and so forth. They will muddy around, and you really can't do that. And choose readers whose writing you respect and who to critique you, because that's really important. And avoid competitions. There are only a couple of screenplay competitions. Nickel is one of them. Austin Film Festival is another, where they really have good readers. They're sophisticated. They know what they're looking for, and so on. The Nickel Fellowships are through the Academy, Motion Picture Academy of Arts and Sciences in LA. The Austin Film Festival, long respected as a screenwriters festival. And avoid competitions where the jurors are not seasoned professionals. They'll look at your stuff, they'll not understand your stuff, but they will take your money, or your $50 or $100, $75, to submit, and you really won't get there. Harry Cohn, who was the head of Columbia, had a great principle, and it's really true. And Harry Cohn said, if you start squirming while reading something, it's not working. Okay, so Harry Cohn is a great guy. You know, there's two things about Harry Cohn we have to tell. One is when he died, they had the services on one of the lots on the Columbia, one of the sound stages on the Columbia lot, and there's a huge number of people came. And as they were walking out, you know, someone said to Groucho Marx, "Wow, I'm surprised Harry Cohn was really not very liked in Hollywood. And look at all the people who came." And Groucho Marx, it's attributed to Groucho Marx, said that Harry always said, if you give the folks what they want to see, they'll come. The other, I just love that. The other one from Harry Cohn is somebody said to Harry Cohn, supposedly, "Harry, the people you're stepping over and crushing on your way up are going to be waiting for you on the way down." To which Harry Cohn replied, "I'm not going back down." This guy was great. By all accounts, Harry Cohn and Columbia in those days were mobbed up. Whether they were or not, who knows? Write tight. Don't throw in a lot of unnecessary words. And for God's sakes, don't do what I did in my early days and think you can write yourself out of trouble. I have reams and reams and reams of in the early screenplays. I never could really write myself out of it. And don't worry about people stealing your idea, because the reality is there is nothing new in Hollywood. And don't allude to anything or any movie or anything that was made more than 5 years ago, because they've never heard of it, and they never will. They've got about a 5-year window before that before that they heard of it. And by the way, another principle, another thing I do from time to time is I just read it out loud and see how it flows, because sometimes you are writing in this case, you're writing a screenplay, which people are going to have to say. And if you can't, I mean, it's great on the page, but if you can't read it smoothly, you need to move things around. By the way, you can, these days, of course, you can have your computer read it to you, although in a monotone, but they will read it to you. The final couple of things is, first, if you don't have to worry about your script being found, because the reality is, and I think it's true, if you write a good script or a great script and throw it on the freeway, they will find it. It's what they do. And they know good, and they know audiences, and they know how to do it. But the reality, furthermore, is that you may aspire to be a writer or an actor or God knows what, you know, a Hall of Fame pitcher. But the reality is, if in Hollywood you do not find and gain attention within the 4 months, go on back to Keokuk or go on back to Tampa, or wherever you came from, you know, marry your high school sweetheart, have kids, have a life, because you're not going to be found. You had 4 months in Hollywood, and they will find you. But the final principle is an interesting one, because once you've been hot in Hollywood, and I was, I came home one day and I had 80 phone calls on my answering machine. It's a nightmare. But the reality is, once you're hot in Hollywood and you cool off, you will be hot again. You're never gone in Hollywood as long as you have a pulse and are still breathing. They know who you are. They have covered you extensively in every studio in town. So they have coverage on your scripts, and they know you, and just an awful lot of people like you, and probably there are more than a few people who are got your script tucked in the back of their minds with a hope that someday, when they get to a point where they can do it, they'll make your script. Those are Pete's writing points and interests and so forth. I hope I don't know if they're useful or not. That's how I did it, and still do. And we'll talk about Hollywood some more in different ways. But for now, those are Pete's writing rules, and they have been for a lot of years.